Hi everyone. I recently went on holiday to Cornwall, which is, well, I think one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And it was really inspiring and it made me want to create a lot of new landscape art, which I haven't done much of before. So I thought it would be nice to show you the materials I took with me on the trip. I initially packed a lot, and it turned out I didn't need everything. So I took about 5 sketchbooks with me and separate papers and stuff to collage and all kinds of things, but I didn't need them. So I still used an extensive amount of things. As you can see, some of them are displayed here. But I wanted to show you them and maybe inspire you to take some materials with you on a trip of your own. Okay, let's start. So this was the kit I eventually ended up using. 2 bags with items in them. I'll open them later. 2 sketchbooks. They're not very big, but I wanted to use smaller sketchbooks because then I could fill them, which I almost did. This one is a Seawhite of Brighton acid-free 140 GSM one, and the paper is really, I think it's really nice. I actually have another one that's similar to it, which is this one is the A4 version, and this is the A5 version. This is also from Seawhite, the Eco sketchbook. And the paper is really nice. It's not too thick, not too thin. It is not too smooth because I do like smooth paper, but I also like it to be absorbent. So I don't know if you can see, but there is a slight, you can slightly feel the fibers, and it takes watercolor really well. So this is very good paper for me to use multiple materials on. I took these 2, definitely didn't feel this one because I was there for about 15 days, but I also travel with my partner and my daughter who's 6 years old. So my sketching was mostly during the morning when they still slept. So I sketched a bit while we were on site, like on plein air, but most of the sketching I did when I was in the cottage and referencing pictures that I took earlier. So these sketchbooks, I'll show you one of the pages later. I think I will make a separate video of the sketchbooks themselves, and I might do it exclusively for my Patreons. But I'll let you know. Okay, so these were the things that I took with me. I took loads more with me, which was completely unnecessary. I took multiple sketchbooks. I took like this beautiful Fabriano paper, which I definitely didn't use because I wanted to do landscape painting. I rarely have the time to do some landscape paintings because I usually draw animals and botanical elements. So yeah, that didn't really work, and it was just too much to take with me. I also took this bag with me with all kinds of extra stuff that I didn't use, this ended up to be my bag of stuff that I didn't need. And I also took this. It's just like a simple, actually I think it's used to when you're painting like the walls and stuff, and you can tape things off. It's really cheap, really practical. Just I get it at a local store. You can go to the hardware store and get get these tapes. They're much cheaper than the tapes you can buy in the art supply stores, so I prefer these. But I didn't use them. I did use them in previous sketches. Let's see. For instance, this one. So I used the tape to block out things, and then I had like new squares and to work on. So that way it gives you the opportunity to do like separate views of one thing. So these paintings I did actually from almost the same viewpoint, but I switched it up a tiny little bit. This was in Germany when I was staying for a few days at a monastery. So this is the monastery. And actually this shows that you only need a few materials to go on your trip and use. Like this is the art graph, which I also took with me, which is like a liquid charcoal, and it's really lovely to use, and just some watercolors and a pencil, and that's basically it. So you don't need a lot to take on your travels. So what did I use? I'll do this one first. I took with me a palette. This one is really practical in the sense that it has a container that comes with it. So you can put water inside here and then use it for your brushes, which is really practical. This is the actual palette. It has like a clip where you can secure it, and it also has a silicone lid to secure the paint so they won't dry out. They do dry out a little bit, I think. Also, as you can see, my hands get dirty from opening up the silicone lid, which I don't really like, because I'm a person who likes to work clean, which is feels a bit counterproductive when you're working with paints and stuff. But yeah, I'm the person who likes to work clean. So this might not be the perfect palette for me when I'm working in my studio, but taking it on a trip, yeah, it really worked. I filled it with some paints. I think they're mostly Winsor Newton and Holbein gouache. Mostly Holbein gouache, probably. This one is Holbein, this one is Holbein, this one, yeah. So I really love the Holbein gouaches. Yeah, and I just took a palette with me where I took my favorite colors, but also colors that I know would really help me mix. So I made sure that I had a yellow, a white, a very dark color. This is an indigo kind of blue. And so at least they have the basic colors, like a yellow, some reds and some blues, and then some really nice greens and some browns, so I could mix it all up. And I also put in a little bit of vegetable glycerine, which was a tip I got from Beth Spencer from the Introvert Drawing Club. She made a video about that, was really helpful. And I do think that they dry out less quickly. So yeah, this is a really practical thing to take with you, and you can just pop it into your pocket. And I spray it with a little spray, which I will show you later. So that way it keeps the colors moist. Yeah, it's a lovely little palette. So in this bag, which is like a simple bag you can buy almost anywhere, probably at Amazon, I have these things. This is a really practical little brush, which somebody gifted me probably about 20 years ago, so I do not know I think it's an 8. Yeah, it's an 8. But I don't know which brand it is. It's sometimes hard to get the brush back into the lid, but when it's still a bit wet, you can get it in the lid perfectly. And it's really, it's really small, so it's really easy to travel with. I took some clips, so my sketchbook the pages didn't fly up when I sketched outside, although I didn't sketch outside a lot. I also took this palette. It is a Compuzzle palette. That's a brand, I'm not sure if it's still available anymore, but it looks a bit like the Art Toolkit one, which a lot of people have at the moment and are really they are really happy with the Art Toolkit ones. So I might try to pick up an Art Toolkit one, because this is really practical, because the other one I was showing you, this one, the pans are pretty deep, so you sort of have to put your brush in really deep, which is not something I really love, because I like to use my paints a bit more like a watercolor. This is also gouache, also mostly Holbein. You might recognize a few of the colors. Like this one is the same. This one I mixed myself, but is based on this one. And yeah, I really like this palette. I made it myself. So most of them I mixed myself. It's like really small, and you can just put it in your bag, in your pocket, and take it with you. So I would really recommend getting something like this. Maybe you can also make something like this yourself if you have like a container where you put the pans in. Yeah, there are lots of possibilities, I think. So this one, I also took Neocolors. This is just a tin I found in a secondhand store. I think that it was cigarettes or cigars, which, yeah, I'm not really fond of cigarette or cigars, but the tins are really practical to keep your crayons in. And these are watercolor crayons, Caran, and they are like the perfect. I'm completely in love with them. I'll show you an example. Like in this sketchbook, I've almost completely sketched with Caran Neocolors and some pencils. And there, by the way, this one you can find on my YouTube, the process of this drawing. I also have a video about this sketchbook, and I show it from beginning to end. Yeah, there are papers in between because I don't want them to get contaminated by the other page, so I put just papers in between. But yeah, they're so lovely, because basically if you need paints, you can take these with you, because you can also just use your brush, and if you have a wet brush you can just use this and then apply them to your paper. So in a way you could just only take this and just leave the paints. It all depends on what you want to do, but so actually my kit could have been much smaller, I think. Then there are these. They are called Distress. I think they're from Ranger or Tim Holtz, or I think Ranger, yeah. They are Tim Holtz's brand, I think. And they are called Distress watercolor pencils, and they have the same characteristics as the Caran Neocolors. These are the Neocolor 2s, by the way. You also have Neocolor 1s, but they are not water soluble. And these ones I bought a while ago because I really like the colors. They're just beautiful. This is not the set they came in. Like these colors are not in one set. You have to buy a particular set to get specific colors, and I have 2 sets, and I combined them to make like my own set with my favorite colors. There are other colors I also use, but yeah, these were the most practical for my travels. I think they're really similar to these, but these I think are less Lightfast, probably, but you know, you can see they are different. They're a bit more muted, I think. They're beautiful colors, and I really love them, especially for botanical drawings. These are really good colors. So yeah, I can, especially when you're in your sketchbook, if you don't really care about the light fastness, then they're really good. Then I have this bag. This bag I also have had for probably 15 years or something, and it was gifted to me by my mother. She got it for free when she was buying cosmetics or something, I don't know, but it's really practical because it has 2 zippers, and I used one of the compartments for like markers. Yeah, so these are just the ones that I took because I did mostly landscapes. So the colors are really practical. For instance, like a sandy kind, this is a really lovely one. This is a Posca pen, which is an acrylic marker. And this is the beige one, which is really helpful when you are drawing like sand or roads or houses. And these are all acrylic markers. So they are not water soluble. They are like acrylic paint, but you can use them. You can use them to block out like a really large surface. So this is what I did. Let me show you. Yeah, so like for instance, this sketch. This is not from my travels, but this is just a view that I've sketched, which is in the dunes near my house. And I just started with, and that's this one actually, which is a really lovely color. This is a Molotow. The color is ceramic light pastel, and it's a really lovely color, and you just use it for a background, and then you can work, or at least I use it for a background, and then you can work on top of it, which is really nice. So yeah, these ones are really lovely. So this is the ceramic pastel light. This is the light pink Liquitex, which is a really lovely one. You can use that as a background as well, like as an underpainting, which works really well to make your drawings light. This is a really lovely one for buildings, Liquitex parchment. It's almost empty, I can feel. Pilot Pintor. They have lovely pastel, a lovely pastel palette as well. This is pale orange. Posca pen, beige, and a Pilot Pintor white. So these are really practical for doing like acrylic paints when you don't want to, well, it doesn't get your hands that dirty, so that's, for me, it's good. And for instance, this is also a very nice way to use the acrylic brush pens to just block out a part in the background. Okay, and then I also have Tombow pens, which are really lovely. You can use them just in the normal way, like use them with a larger nib or a smaller nib. And does it show? Yeah. They're also water soluble, not as light fast, so that's also a thing to take in account. But they're really lovely to work with. This is 873, 772, which is like a rose color. I used these last year a lot when I went on another holiday to England. This drawing is made with Tombows, like they are the underlayer, you can see, and also Ecoline. I'll show you those later. So this one, for instance, is the 666 Ecoline brush pen, and I then used other materials like the Neocolors. You can see I also try them out. I swatched them a little bit to see if the colors match, because this one, for instance, is, I think, darker. Yeah, it's not the same color as the cap tries to tell you, so that's a good thing to test them out a bit before you start. Yeah, so, and then I do the details with usually I do my details with pencils, which I will talk about later. So where was I? I had the 873, 772, which is a pinky one, 910, which is like a very light one, which you can use for sand or other things. This is a Lyra, actually, apparently. Also a really nice brand, much cheaper than the Tombows. And I don't know what the color, it doesn't say. Oh, smalt blue, yeah. A 553 Tombow, which is more purpley than the cap tells you. This one is one that I use a lot. 076. It's lovely for greenery. 158. 312. 192. And I use them all for greenery. Another Pilot Pintor pen, which actually belongs in this pile. A white one, but it's smaller, so you can use it for details. And then other brush pens, the Ecoline one, 666, which is a really nice base. It's a lovely light green. 258, 439, and a 420. And they're all really nice for like sandy colors, rock colors, and roads, all these things. And a 50 from Pebeo Colorex marker. Also, these are all water based, and this is really nice for shadows as well. So yeah, really love all of these. In the other container, I had just a simple pencil sharpener, but this one has 3 sizes, so that's really helpful, because some pencils just don't fit in the regular size ones. Okay, this one is the Art Graph. It's like a little tin with liquid charcoal in it. Watercolor graphite, it says, and charcoal graphite. That's probably something different, but it's like a pencil, but in a pan. And you can use it with your paintbrush and just add water to it, and then it gives you really nice results. I really like it. I also took with me some brushes. These you can fill with water. As you can see, they're already a bit scruffy, but that also can give you some really nice results. Like I deliberately took this one so I could make some nice tree foliage. This is really practical because if you take these, then you don't have to take a water can or something which holds your water, and you just have to take some tissue paper with you to clean your brush with, and that's it. So you don't actually, I also use this a lot in my studio as well, because you don't spill any water. I think we use a lot of water when we paint, and where does it all go to? I try not to flush it down the drain, and this is a good way to minimize your use of water and minimize the waste. This is also really helpful. It's a really small mist. I think these are from Derwent. It says it's like a mist. When you fill this with water, and then you can spray, and then you can spray your page, or you can spray your paint, and it really helps. I also use this a lot. This is one of my favorite tools of late. This is actually this is called soft art. I think it's meant to use for like pastel, but I don't really like pastels because they're messy. And if you use this, for instance, with gelatos or distress crayons, or if you wet your Neocolors, then you can smush it out and you can get like the loveliest textures. Let's see, I sometimes use it. Yeah, this is one small example where I have, I just did this page, like put some stuff on it. So I have like a base to work on. I didn't do anything with it yet, but I'll find a nice thing to draw on it. And I did the same, actually, did I do it here? Yeah, I did the same here when I drew the monastery. So I just made the paper, I just put on a lot of basically this color before I started, so it feels less daunting to start, so it could help you in loosening up and yeah, just make it a bit more spontaneous. So I use this a lot and I really like it. I use them for these. These are distress crayons, which are, it feels a bit like a kid's crayon, but it's not. I think it's for crafts purposes. But they have really lovely colors and they're really creamy and also probably not Lightfast, but lovely. So yeah, I use them a lot. These are also not from one set. This is the wild honey, the tattered rose, the crushed olive, the shabby shutters, the old paper, the milled lavender, the evergreen bow, and the scattered straw. And they're all, I think I have 3 sets, but they have lots of different colors, and I just took the light ones with me to use them as a base for landscapes. And also this is one of my favorite Gelatos Pistachio Gold Champagne, which is not my favorite color of the Faber Castell Gelatos because it is metallic, but you can't find these anymore, so I'll just take what I have. Peach and amber, and I use them in the same way. Let's see if I can find something. Yeah, so I use them usually for backgrounds as well. So this cat is, the background is like a gray. I didn't use it this time, but it's like, I think the color is Earl Grey. I used it for this cat's back, for the background of this cat, and it really helps. You can smush it with your fingers, but you can also use like a tool like this, or you can use a sponge or a Q-tip or anything that you like. And yeah, it gives a much more soft appearance than these brush pens, which are the Tombows that I showed you earlier. And I think I used them. No, I didn't use them here, but here you can see that I did a background as well, and then drew over them and used a bit of the Ecoline beige colored brush pens. These I made in a drawing session for my Patreons. So we drew nocturnal animals together. I also really like this one. This is a kid's rainbow color pencil, but as you can see, the tip has multiple colors. So it gives you all the colors. It gives you like a rainbow to draw with, which is really nice, especially when you don't know how to fill your page and make it look a bit nicer. So yeah, that's a lovely one. Let's see if I can find one quickly. Probably not. Oh yeah, I used it for this quick study of a poppy, and it just gives you, yeah, It gives it a bit more interest, but it's just fun to work with. And lastly, a few fine liners. I really like this one, which is a Tombow Fudenosuke. I'm pronouncing it completely wrong, but it's really nice because it has like a tip that you can also hold. You can hold it like this, but you can also hold it slightly angled, which gives you thicker lines, and that allows you to create different marks with one pen. It's not waterproof, by the way. These are Staedtler pigment liners. I use different, I think this one is chisel tipped, which can also give you different sized lines. So I have a 0.5 and a 0.3 to give me different thickness of lines, which is really lovely. Lastly, we have pencils. This pencil roll I also have had for like 20 years. When I studied illustration design at art school in the Netherlands, and they recommended me to buy one of these pencil rolls. It's not the prettiest one. I think it originally was something like a Derwent one. Doesn't really say, maybe it's even a non-branded one. It does the job. I would have wanted to take more pencils. I didn't use them all probably, but I love to draw with pencils. As you can see, this is one of my favorites. It's a Payne's Grey one from Luminance. They're pretty expensive, but they are lovely. And also this is one of my recent favorites to do line work, which is a dark Phthalocyanine green. Dark Phthalocyanine green, 719. And that is really lovely. And also this one is a great one, which is a Derwent Inktense one. It's a bark color, and these are water soluble pencils, but once they dry, you can't move the colors anymore, so they're permanent, and they have the loveliest colors. For instance, this one is also a really lovely color. It's called Amber, which you can use for like trees. I really love it. And what is another color that I really love? Yeah, so I have different types. Derwent Lightfast is also one of my favorites. Holbein, one of my favorite brands. And I really like this one for white highlights. Staedtler Lumacolor Permanent. It says it's waterproof. Don't know for sure, but it is really, this one, I'm still looking for the perfect one actually. This one is really creamy, so that you can't really make a very fine point when you sharpen the pencil. So I would love to find another one that is even lovelier. This one is also really nice, by the way. It's a Derwent Lightfast Oyster, which isn't completely white, but does lovely. You can use it for lovely highlights. Yeah, I don't think I can go through all of these pencils, but they are lovely and they're my favorites. Yeah, I use them on top of all of my drawings, mostly because I really love to do pencil work. I love line work. Let's see if I can find an example. This is another example from my sketchbooks. I will probably do a tour of this sketchbook later on in the month, hopefully. This I have also done with brush pens, and then I'm wondering if I took that with me actually, which is one of my favorite, the forest color of Derwent Lightfast, which is also one of my favorites. And I use dark colors for line work basically, and sometimes I use a bluer one, sometimes I use a greener one, or a browner one. It all depends on what I'm drawing. I used a green one here, and yeah, I use it for all my line work. As you can see, I like a lot of lines. So these are all of the materials. I really hope you liked seeing them. There will be a sketchbook tour of the drawings I made during my travels. I will show you one. I'll show you the first one. So this is one of the sketchbook pages I created during my travels in Cornwall. I will do a separate video of the sketchbooks, but I might do it for my paid Patreons, I'm not sure. I will let you know. For now, if you have any questions about the materials, please let me know. And yeah, I hope you've been inspired to use some new materials that you haven't used before. Thanks, bye.